Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. It is Mindset Reset Monday. Mindset Reset Monday, you guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. We are back. 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 Mindset Reset Monday. Mindset Reset Monday. I'm excited about this conversation. If you're excited, we're we're talking about shaping your life, right? Shaping your life in the month of March. And what that means is that each week we're talking about an element or something that's essential to you shaping your life. So last week we talked about self-awareness, right? How self-awareness was an important component to really shaping the life that you want. And let me just say, shaping your life is really important because I think that we think that we can just check off the boxes. We can just move how we want to move, right? We go get our degree, find a relationship. We kind of more, I would say, reacting, right? Versus responding to life, right? And creating the life that we want. And at some point we get stuck because we're actually possibly living out somebody else's dreams for us, somebody else's narrative for us, right? And so we go and we do the things that, our mom wants us to do, what the church said we should do, what society says we should do, and we can only get so far. And so this whole concept of shaping your life is, okay, I have done everything in my all my boxes are checked and I still don't feel fulfilled, right? I still don't feel purposeful. I still don't feel like I have what it takes to really feel happy, and fulfilled in this life. And so this whole month is really about taking control back and really saying, hey, you can shape your life. Okay. So, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody in the group. It's good morning. It is Mindset Reset Monday, you guys. It is Mindset Reset Monday, and I just want to welcome you back. I want to welcome you back to Life Lessons with Dr. Sheila Little, myself. If you're new here, I am Dr. Sheila Little. I've been a therapist for 20 years. I no longer do therapy. I do what's called life coaching. Life is an acronym. I help people in their love of self, in their interactions with others, and their focus and their energy. And I also work with a lot of business owners to help strategies, training, and things like that. My passion, though, is behind this mic because I do believe that at the core of who I am is like this teacher. When I went on my learning transformational journey, I just found so much stuff out in different modalities. And it really helped me. And so these life lessons are really here to help empower you. So before I start this session, I do want to give a disclaimer. So this session is really designed to provide information and insight into the healing process. But true healing, you guys, I want to say this: true healing requires intentional action and an investment in yourself. All right. While this discussion can help in all of this discussions and life lessons can truly help you shift your perspective, deep healing or transformation or anything requires personalized support, you guys, whether through therapy, whether through coaching or some type of a structured program. And if you're serious about your healing journey, I would ask you to seek out for additional resources, guidance, and support that aligns with your needs. So I always say that this teaching element or this information is truly for you to get an awareness, right? To have the awareness, all right? And then what I'm going to do in that discovery stage is kind of start to say, yep, that's me, identify, right? And then you need the strategy, right? You need the strategy. And so that's where you seek support. So for me, it's Project Life, that growth coaching program. I also have higher programs, Elevating Life. I have a Shape Your Life program. And then I also have the Limits to Lemonade for your business if you happen to be an entrepreneur. But it doesn't have to be me, you guys. It can be anyone you feel comfortable with. So with that being said, I just want to welcome you back to Life Lessons with Dr. Sheila Little. And this is really a part of the Project Life series. In this Project Life is truly where we turn what theory into practice, you guys. Theory into practice. So good morning. Let's take our breath, right? Let's take our breath, right? This is our time. We've already woke up, you know, time got set up an hour, right? And so, we probably, I would say, lost an hour of sleep if you went to sleep a little later. But this is our time, right? No pressure, just our presence. So let's take a deep breath. Let's breathe in and let's get present, right? Like I said, we've already taken care of our personal life. This is our community time, right? To get direction and guidance and really just get our, set our mind for the day. So breathe in, breathe out. Let's feel our feet on the floor, right? Just a real mindful moment. All right. All right. I do want to say good morning. But before I start, I'm going to ask you to drop a word in the chat of how you're feeling this morning. Drop me a word in the chat of how you're feeling this morning, right? Today, I am feeling excited. You're going to hear me say that a lot. I am feeling excited. This conversation about healing is truly important. It's an important conversation to have. We're talking about mental health. We're hearing a lot about it within, on social media. There is a move to help with mental health. So I really wanted to speak on a lot of things this week to really help provide some clarity about mental health and all of those things, right? Okay. So today we're talking about, though, the stories we tell ourselves about healing, right? Because my belief is that life is really about how the story you tell, right? Miss Nancy said, I'm feeling stuck. Okay, Miss Nancy, if you want to DM me, we can talk about that. Good morning. Um, you know, Life is truly about the stories we tell ourselves, right? That's why we can all have different experiences, and it's truly the lens. And this is why I love emotional intelligence, because in emotional intelligence, we do have these paradigms in which we experience life, right? And one of those paradigms is called integrity, and that's when I can see life as my friend, right? It's a mentor to me, and it helps me. And so, a big part of the legacy membership is really teaching people like these different paradigms and how to really switch your paradigms. And I say that a paradigm is like this, is the different seats, right? So we have this centerpiece. You'll hear me say this. You have the centerpiece at the middle of the table, and it's 4 seats, right, around the table. And each one of those seats have a different view of that centerpiece, right? And this is our paradigm. It's truly just the lens in which we experience life. And there's 4 of those, right? So today, though, we're talking about the stories we tell ourselves about healing, the ones that really keep us stuck and the ones that set us free, you guys, because healing is not just about what happened to us. It's not just about what happened to us. It's about the narrative we have attached to what's happened to us. Okay. So let's shift those stories today, you guys, right? Healing can feel like a heavy topic. Healing can feel like a heavy topic, but today we're making space for growth. All right. So we're making space for growth. So one of the things I'm going to ask you to do is just kind of pause, just be open to a new perspective, open to a new awareness and how we really see healing. Right. Um, so although we're making a space for, or that it can be a heavy topic, um, I want you guys to know that it's possible, right? It's possible. It is possible for you to heal. And life sometimes is not always about healing either, right? It's about expanding. So we heal and expand. And we know that life is an appetite. And because it's an appetite, guess what? Life is always going to require something from you, right? It's always asking for direction. And that's going to happen for the rest of your life. So life is going to life for the rest of your life. Okay. And so a part of our healing journey is to really recognize, like, what is life asking me for, or what am I telling life to give me? And if I don't like what life is giving me, how do I shift that? How do I change my narrative? How do I do the assessments and things like that? If any of us have worked in any type of organization, we understand that there's metrics, right? You get an evaluation every so many months, or every once a year, right? And based on your evaluation, is going to determine, how much you get how much a raise you get, right? So we evaluate ourselves, and businesses, they have spent millions of dollars to make sure what, that the business is proficient. The reason I went to become a business psychologist is so that I can learn those systems and in some way take those ideas and construct a framework, right, that I can use with people, right, to really start to structure our life and really look at our life like a project. When am I doing my evaluations, right? This last quarter, what would I evaluate myself on? Like, how would I say I'm doing in these 10 categories? And I do have 10 categories that we do before you start the growth membership, right? We rate ourselves, and then, like, what do I need to do a little bit better? And this feedback, right, loop, is really keeping us on top of the things that we need to do. But if we don't have a standard for, okay, in my health, I'm a 3 and I would like to be at a 5, or in my health, I'm a 5 and I would like to be at a 7. If we don't have those same metrics for our life, how are we growing? How do we know that we're shaping ourselves, right? Right. So it's important. It's very important that we really start to understand that our life is a project we created. And a part of that is this healing, right? It's healing our past wounds, right? So I want to talk about the difference between, before we start our conversation, I want to talk about the difference between mental health and mental illness. All right. Because I think that when we're talking about the healing process in this conversation on Project Life with life lessons with Dr. Sheila Little, it's really more about our mental health than it is about mental illness, right? So when I work with people, I say I'm not a therapist because I no longer work with mental illness anymore, right? I'm working with people to really heal their mental health, strengthen their mental health, expand their capacity, right? Teach them emotional intelligence and help them to be able to respond to life in a very effective way so that they can ultimately start to experience the life they desire and deserve. All right. And there is a difference. One of the biggest misconceptions that people have about healing is confusing mental health with mental health with mental illness. They are connected, but they are not the same, you guys. They are not the same. Mental health is our overall well-being, right? So mental health really refers to our emotional, our psychological, our spiritual, and our social well-being, right? It affects how we handle stress, how we relate to people, and how we make decisions. Everyone has mental health, right? It's like everyone has physical health, just like we all have physical health, right? So we go to the gym, we work out, we eat healthy, we understand that moving our body and eating a certain diet, right? It's going to help our physical health. What is that going to help our physical health do? That's going to help us decrease the rate of us probably getting hypertension or diabetes, or keep our bodies fit, keep our bones strong, right? So that as we start to age, our bodies can still lift us, and we can get up and things like that, right? So mental health is the affirming part of our growth and development. It's the strengthening of our mind, just like we strengthen our muscles, okay? Just like we eat certain foods. Our mental health is what are we taking in to make sure that I feel well, to make sure that I feel good in my body, to make sure that I can respond to life, right? Even in its most toughest times, all right? Mental illness, however, you guys, is a diagnosable condition, all right? Mental illness is a specific condition that affects the way we think, okay? It affects our emotions and it affects our behaviors in ways that really disrupt our daily life. All right. It includes things like depression, anxiety disorder, PTSD, and more. But let me say this. That doesn't mean, so everyone though can experience depression, but that doesn't mean you have depression as a mental illness. Okay. Because to have depression as a mental illness, you literally have to have experienced this emotion for 6 months, 8 months, right? Within a row. Okay. People experience anxiety, right? We all experience anxiety, but to be diagnosed with anxiety means that you have to have been experiencing this anxiety for a length of time. Okay. And then PTSD and all of those. So each one of these have a criteria. So sometimes we may wake up feeling a little depressed, and we may wake up feeling a little anxious, right? That may have more to do with our mental health, right? And what we're going through, or how we're experiencing what we're going through, than it is a mental illness. All right. And that's why I wanted to clear that, because why does this matter? Because many people avoid healing because they fear that struggling with emotions means that they are mentally ill. Okay. So many people actually avoid the healing process, you guys, because they fear that they may be mentally ill. And mental health is not mental illness, but we may feel some of the things that it's just like, I'm gonna give an example. This came up in my spirit. So you may go to a doctor and your blood pressure may be up, right? It may be like 130 over 98 or something like that. When that happens, the doctor is not going to say, okay, you have high blood pressure, right? They're going to say, we're going to monitor your blood pressure. They have to see that blood pressure at that level over months, sometimes years, before they say, okay, you have hypertension, right? They're just not going to give you a pill that day. Most of the time, they're going to ask, have you been stressed out at work? What do you have going on, right? They're going to ask these questions because they're trying to decipher, is this situational, right? Just something you're going through right now? Or is this actually a mental health issue? Okay. I mean, is this actually, yeah, a mental illness? I mean, is this a mental health issue, right? So I want you to think about your mental health like that. So we don't have to fear, right? Going to seek help and healing from fear of being diagnosed with a mental illness, you guys. Sometimes these things happen. Listen, you may experience grief, anxiety, stress, and still have good mental health if you have the right coping strategies, if you have the right mental health regimen, if you learn emotional intelligence, right? If you get the right paradigm and have the right supports around you, all right? You can also have a mental ill, but on the opposite side, you can also have a mental illness, you guys, and still live a fulfilled life, all right? Healed lives with treatment, therapy, and self-care. I've shared this before. My mom has a mental health issue. My brother has a mental health issue. I worked for community mental health for years, right? With individuals who had this condition. It was only until I went to Delta that I realized that, oh, mental health, when I started to work at Delta as a counselor, let me finish that whole thought, was only when I started to work at the college and started to work as a counselor that I realized, oh, wait, people have problems, right? Sometimes just life is happening, and that liberated me because this fear I'm talking about mental illness, like a lot of us are avoiding it, especially within our community. We feel like if I tell you that I'm sad, if I tell you that I'm really don't want to get out the bed today, if I'm telling you that I'm crying, then you're going to diagnose me with something, and that's just not true. And so like a part of my practice is I don't take insurances because a lot of times insurance will make a diagnosis for you for the insurance company to pay for it. So for me, I do coaching. This is a personal investment, right? So you do have to come out your pocket to get this help, but I'm not the only person that you can get help from. All right. I just want to make sure that we know the difference. If that made sense, put a heart in the chat for me, because healing is about building resiliency, guys. Whether you're maintaining your mental health or managing a mental illness. Good morning, Miss Cynthia. All right. So we really need to break the stigma, right? Some people say if I feel anxious, sometimes I feel anxious sometimes, so I must be broken, right? I have depression, so I can't heal, right? So we will set these limitations on ourselves. Instead, we should really look at it as I'm human and I'm learning how to manage my emotions, and I can have struggles and still experience healing and growth. All right. All right. Does that make sense? I also want you guys to know that healing is not a one size fit all situation. Healing is an integrated approach, you guys. There are no single way. There is no single way to heal. All right. Different people respond to different methods, and the key is to find what works best for you. What works best for you. So healing is a personal journey, and it may involve multiple modalities, multiple different things. And I want to talk about these modalities because even when you're on social media, you may be following a person, an influencer or something like that. And guess what? They may be literally speaking from one of these lanes. All right. All of these lanes lead to healing, but they may be in this lane speaking from this type of healing process. But just know that there's like 8 lanes to get to your healing destination. All right. So we have the therapeutic way, right? The therapeutic healing, which really helps uncover our past wounds. And that is stored in our subconscious mind, right? So this is more talking through your emotions, right? Processing your trauma, right? And learning coping skills through therapy and counseling, all right? But there's something called somatic healing that suggests that trauma is stored in the body and movement helps to release it, right? So healing through your body, like breath work, movement, yoga, dance, okay? There's spiritual and energetic healing, right? Some emotional wounds are stored energetically. This is the belief, right? So we have these chakras, right? We have our crown chakra, we have our third eye, we have our throat chakra, we have a heart chakra, we have a solar plexus, we have our sacral chakra, and then we have a root chakra. Okay, good morning, Dale. We have our root chakra, right? So these are energy fields within our bodies. People say we also have knee chakras, we have ear chakras, but these are energy fields because remember, we're energy beings, right? So we're spiritual beings having a human experience, but we really are energetic beings. So what spiritual and energetic healing says that, emotions are really caught in these energy fields, right? And they need clearing. So this is like meditation, energy work, prayers, right? Connecting to a faith, really to find peace, right? And then we have narrative therapy. You hear me talk about this a lot, the way we frame our past, the way we frame our past narratives really shape our identity. So all about rewriting our stories and create new possibilities. So this is like journaling and expression through artwork and rewriting our personal stories, right? We even have something called social and relational healing, you guys, where some wounds are related or relational, okay, and must be healed through connecting with other people. All right. So if I have an issue with trust, right, the only way I can heal my issue with trust is to go and learn how to trust people again. Okay. If I have a issue with abandonment, the only way I can really heal that is to what? Go out and face that abandonment. So I need to be around people, all right? So social relational healing is just like some rooms are relational and we need a community to help, right? So through relationships, group therapy, and mentorship. So a big part of the structure of Project Life is like this group, right? Because the relatability in the group. Oh, I'm not the only person who thinks like this, right? People have been through this, and that collective community helps to accelerate your healing process. Okay. We've heard of this inner shadow or inner child and shadow work. Okay. So the many present day struggles stem from what? Our childhood wounds. I see that sun coming in. Many of our present day struggles stem from our childhood wounds, you guys, or suppressed emotions. So this inner child work, right, is really reparenting our inner child. So it's really about us becoming a parent to this inner child and stop allowing that inner child to reign our life, right? And so you hear people talk about this inner child. This is really about just addressing our childhood wounds, right, and integrating a process where we can start to release these emotions instead of suppressing them. All right. And then there's other modalities like capacity building, which is healing it's not about fixing the pain. It's about increasing your ability to handle life challenges, right? So this is about regulating your nervous system, stress tolerance, and emotional flexibility. And then we have emotional intelligence. Another big part of the work I do Healing allows for better control over our emotions and our relationship, right? So self-reflecting, critical thinking, reframing our beliefs, all right? I'm so sorry. Self-awareness, emotional regulation, and setting expectations or guidelines for our life. And then we have the adult learning model, which is healing happens by unlearning outdated beliefs and adapting new ones. And this is all about self-reflecting, critical thinking, and reframing our beliefs. Listen, the work I do integrates all of those, right? And this is why I say that your healing journey is shaped, right? Which one of these is going to work for you so we can accelerate your process, right? But I want you to know on this morning, that there is no wrong way to heal, you guys. What's most important is that you find a path that really resonates with you. Today, we're going to dive into the stories that we tell ourselves about healing and how they either support or really block our growth. All right. All right. So who is this session for? Really, I just want to say, if you ever felt like healing is for other people, right? But not for you. Have you ever told yourself that the same pain, have you told yourself the same painful story for so long that you feel like it's just true, right? If so, this session is for you, you guys. Whether you've been carrying past trauma, struggling with self-doubt, procrastinating, feeling stuck in old wounds, been hurt by a relationship, separated from your parents, right? Have some mama wounds, some daddy wounds, right? Today, we're going to rewrite our story, because at the end of the day, at some point, life passed the baton to you. All right, your mama, that boyfriend who broke your heart, maybe that old relationship, right? Passed the baton to you. All right, and now this is your race. And it's really about how you're going to run your race now that the baton is in your hand. All right. So this session is for individuals struggling with past traumas and emotional wounds, who believe that healing is impossible, people who really define themselves by their pain, right? And need to separate their identity from their past experiences. Anyone who has internalized limited beliefs about healing, right? Thinking that they will always be broken, and those who want to take ownership for their healing and rewrite their internal narrative. All right. Now remember, life has passed the baton to you. As an adult, you have the baton in your hand. If people don't, if you don't know what a baton is, if you ever seen the race of those four people, those relay races, and you have the first lap, right? That's the person who kick it off. They got a baton in their hand. They running, right? And then they pass the baton to the next person. All right. And if we look at life like that, if we're on a relay, my grandmother passed the baton to my mother. Okay. My mother passed the baton to me, right? And then I'm going to pass the baton to my kids. In my stretch, I'm going to do the best I know how to do with the information I have, with the strength, with my mental health, whatever. And if we start to look like that, when my great grandmother passed the baton to my grandmother, she did the best she knew how to do, right? Now, it could have made my grandma far behind in the race, right? Right. So she a little behind. Okay. She passed that baton to my mother. Okay. Right. And then my mama passed it to me. And y'all know, I feel like the fastest runner. Listen, I'm gonna catch us up. I'm about to run this race, right? I'm gonna go in full gear. And that's the attitude that we should have in this generation, right? Because we have way more access than my great grandmother had, right, than my grandmother had, and even my mama. So that means that in my leg of the race, I should be able to catch us up, right, in this generation. So when I pass it to my sons, when I pass this baton to my sons, my kids, like, they're ahead of the game. All right. And we should all take that attitude. But the reason why we probably can't take that attitude, you guys, is because we believe that we can't even run the race, or we mad because mama passed it to me. And when my mama passed it to me, I was already, 5 steps behind, or I seen so many people ahead of me. And so you looking at somebody else race. And I love Andre, because he has layout, right? We got to live at our own pace, right? The baton is for me. Let me live at my own pace, and let me do what I need to do to make sure that this leg of this race of life is I'm doing the best I know how to do. All right. All right. So I want to give this analogy because this represents your healing. Like a blank slate. Nothing's there. Okay. Nothing's there. My camera is just go. Nothing's there. My camera moves. Okay. So this represents, I'm going to make sure that it's going to stay. Okay. This represents your story, you guys. This represents your healing story. One that, I gotta let my camera sit in. Okay. One that you have the full power to write. Okay. The old story is gone now. Okay. The old story is gone and you get to choose. You get to choose what your next chapter will look like. Okay. You get to choose what your next chapter will look like. Okay. So our quote for the day, if that makes sense, put a heart in the chat. Okay. You a clean slate. Every morning we get up, we get to do a clean slate. But the way our minds work is that we will carry stuff over from our past, you guys. We will carry stuff over. And that can work for us. When we learn how to make that work for us, it will work for us in a great way. But if we don't learn how to make it work for us, then we will get caught up in somebody else's race. All right. So our powerful quote for today is healing doesn't mean that damage never exists. Healing doesn't mean that the damage never exists. It means that the damage no longer controls your life. Healing doesn't mean that the damage never exists. It means that the damage no longer controls your life, you guys. Okay. All right. So, if you like that quote, put a heart in the chat for me. All right. Healing isn't just about recovering from trauma either, you guys. It's about strengthening our mental health so that we can thrive emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. Just like we care for our physical health, mental health requires maintenance and intentional care. All right. So, how can we support our mental health? Really, emotional processing, right? Instead of suppressing how we feel, right? Allowing ourselves to feel it and release it, reframing negative thoughts, right? And reframing is, I'm going to look at this different now. Who do I need to become to for that reframe to hold itself to be true? All right. Because remember, we live off beliefs, you guys. And that's why I say I give you an affirmation every day. But if you don't believe in this affirmation, it's not going to do anything. Okay. So I'm going to say this affirmation. Now I got to think, here's the work. Because if I feel some dissonance or I feel my affirmation is that I am enough. But when I say that, I can feel like all of this stuff come up and I don't believe that I'm enough. That's the work, right? So the affirmation is kind of like the goalpost. And now who do I need to become to do that? Right? So why our mental health matters is because it helps us to really respond rather than react. It improves our relationships. It strengthens our emotional resilience, you guys. And it creates a space for, guess what? Joy, peace, and fulfillment. If that's what you're looking for in this life, put a 1 in the chat. Listen, it makes space for the joy that you're seeking, the peace that you desire, and the fulfillment that you want to experience in this life. And a lot of us are looking for other people to be that for us, to bring this joy to us, to be our peace, to bring us or make us feel fulfilled. And that's an inside job, you guys. That is not anyone else's job. And I want to apologize on behalf of anybody who has stunted your ability to grow or has interfered with that. Because it's not, I would say, fair, but it's life, right? If you even think about you as a parent and you have kids, right? Did not you do the best you knew how to do with the information you have, right? As a mother, as a father, all right? And what we realize when we become parents is that we can't teach our kids everything, right? We can't teach our kids everything. We can teach them how to be better, right? We can teach them how to think, how, but they make their own decisions. So at some point, you pass the baton to them. Okay. But if you can really have compassion for yourself as a parent and your limitations or whatever that is, and then we look back over our lineage, then we have to be able to get that same compassion to the people that came before us. And a lot of us are saying, well, I didn't learn that. Nobody taught me how to budget. Nobody taught me how to manage my emotions. Nobody taught me how to really communicate. Nobody really told me about love. Okay, I get that. And I understand. And I'm sorry, right? That nobody taught you those things, right? I'm sorry that nobody hugged you or loved you or sat down and talked to you about money or, had you in an environment that made you feel unsafe, okay, as a child. But now you are an adult. Now you are an adult. And at some point, those become excuses. Those become excuses to really keep you from doing the thing that you ultimately are scared to do. Because what has happened is those things now make you feel inadequate. It make you feel like, oh, well, I don't know how to budget money. So what if I go to budget money and then I still get it wrong? Oh, I don't know how to communicate. So what if when I find out how to communicate, I still won't know how to communicate? What if I, go to school and I go to learn a thing and become the person, right? That's another big one that people say. My family didn't really talk about education, so I really wasn't pushed to go to school when I should have. So now, I just got to kind of settle for this job. But as an adult, though, if you want to go back to school, go back to school, right? Here's the power. I want to tell you this. Here's the power of your mind, you guys. Whatever you give it, it will take it. It will learn it if you tell it to. That's the most powerful position to be in as human beings, you guys. Whatever I tell my mind that I want it to do, and I tell it, and then I start to believe that. That's the second part. I start to believe that I will become that thing, right? Listen, people ain't just good at math. A lot of engineers just weren't great at math or great at science. But guess what? They did what they needed to do to get through the class. All right. I told you, I'm a doctor right now, a doctor of business psychology. I have failed a lot of classes. I have been kicked out of school. You understand me? Kicked out of college. All right. And I petitioned because I'm like, I'm going to get a degree. Okay. So my point is that, but I had to believe that and then do the thing. And this is where we start talking about healing. Okay. This is where we start talking about healing and expanding, right? Life may meet you with some rejection. Just like if it's windy outside, you feel that wind. You could barely walk, right? It's just hitting you. But it ain't gonna stop you from getting where you want to go. You're gonna push through that wind, you're gonna push through that cold air, right? Because the thing you want on the other side is desirable. And so we got to find whatever that thing is on the other side of this life, on the other side of this bridge, on the other side of this road, that we are passionate enough about, that we're going to push through whatever it is. Now, that's when we can say, for my kids, for my health, for my life, for an experience, for the opportunity to become the person that God created, whatever the reason is, we have to anchor it, you guys, so that we can actually go through the process that's required for us to heal, for us to truly heal. If that makes sense, put a 2 in the chat for me. Okay. Put a 2 in the chat for me. Now, here's the thing. Healing also requires some type of spiritual essence, right? I'm not talking about religion, but it really, what I'm talking about when I say that purpose and meaningfulness, right? Healing is more than just about the emotional work, right? And the mental work, right? It's a spiritual journey. Remember, we're divine beings. What does divine mean? We have the ability to transcend our limitations. That is the definition of divinity. All right. So we are divine beings. So while therapy, self-reflection, personal growth helps us process our pain, guess what? The spirituality gives us meaning, right? Because I'm divine, that gives me the strength and the connection to other people, right? So spirituality helps us find purpose in our pain. So when I go back, I can say I went through that because, right? I went through that so that I could be, okay? it grounds us in something bigger than ourselves. I'm gonna wake up and I'm gonna be a better person for my grandkids. If I didn't do it for my kids, then let me do it for my grandkids. Or let me be a great woman so that I can love on my husband. You know what I mean? Let me be a great man so I can be the person that that loves on this woman so much that she feels like she's just a blessing from God, right? So it grounds us in something bigger than ourselves, you guys, because if we only thinking about us, guess what? Healing is a choice. It's not really a decision, right? But if we're thinking about this collective community that as a rising tide lift all boats. So when I get better, the people around me get better. When I get better, my community gets better. When I get better, that means my grandkids gonna have a better life, right? So this is bigger than just you. So you taking a chance to make your life better is not so you can just experience better things. It's so the people around you can experience a better you. So your grandkids can have a better life. So your mate can experience the beauty in your essence, right? All of that. Good morning, Miss Jackie. Right? All of that, right? Because we need it, you guys. We need it. All right. It also spirituality teaches us grace and forgiveness, you guys. So to be able to heal, we need to give ourselves grace. We need to forgive. We need to be able to forgive the person who passed us that baton and made us lag behind in that race. We need to be able to forgive ourselves for for the things we did that we didn't know, right? We need to be able to in on our healing journey, you guys. We need to be able to give ourselves grace and understand that it's a learning curve, right? It's like frying chicken. I may fry chicken a day and it's good. I may, fry chicken tomorrow. It may not turn out that good, but I'm gonna give myself grace. Okay, in that same mythology, right? I'm gonna give myself grace when I wanted to do something, but I fell short. And I'm a forgive myself. And guess what? I'm gonna do the same for other people, right? So self forgiveness is key. Forgiving doesn't mean that we are excusing harmful behavior. It doesn't mean that we're excusing anything. It just means that I'm accepting that the past can be no different. And once I can accept that for what it is, now that becomes a foundation that I stand on. But if I never forgive, my foundation is shaky. Okay. All right. And it gives us emotional resilience, you guys. Emotional resilience is so important. It's so important. Good morning, Miss Melissa. Okay, emotional resilience is so important, you guys, because if you've ever saw the rose that grew off the concrete, y'all ever if y'all seen that picture, the rose that's growing off the concrete, right? Um, the whole metaphor around that is, how can a flower grow through concrete? Well, you got to know that it's the depth, right? It's this deepness. It was resilient enough to break because the soil under there to make its way through this crack in the ground, right? So this is what emotional resilience is about, right? It's about handling stress better. It's about our recovery time, recovering from our emotional pain faster, and then feeling a sense of inner peace, right? Even when circumstances are difficult, right? Spirituality doesn't erase our hardships, you guys, but it does help us navigate with strength and wisdom, you guys. And we need to be wise on this journey of health, of mental health. Why? Because information is just not enough, right? It's the application. When I learned, like, I'm going to go back to chicken. I could see people frying chicken all day, seasoning it up, right? But until I actually put that chicken in my hand, feel those seasonings, shake it to really see the weight of the seasoning, right? Until I actually do that is where my wisdom developed. So y'all hearing me right now, you're getting some vital information, some very important information, all right? But the application of the information is what's going to help you become wise. All right. All right. So many people don't struggle with healing itself. They struggle from the stories. They struggle from the stories that they believe about healing, you guys. I don't have time to heal is a big one. But unhealed wounds really drain your energy. Your story is I don't have time to heal, but unhealed wounds actually drain our energy every day, you guys. I'll always be broken, right? Healing is not about perfection, you guys. It's about wholeness. Okay? Uh, Time heals all wounds. This is a big one. Time heals all wounds. Right? How many of us heard that? Put a 3 in the chat. Time heals all wounds. This is another story we tell ourselves, right? But time alone doesn't heal, right? Intentional effort does. If time healed your wound, then at our grown 30 some self, 40 some self, 60 some self, 70 some self, 80 some self, right? That wound still wouldn't hit the way it hit if time healed it, right? No, there's intentional effort that needs to happen for those wounds to be healed, all right? If I heal, I have to forgive, and I'm not ready. This is another story we tell ourselves. If I heal, good morning, Mariah. If I heal, I'll have to forgive them for what they done, and I'm just not ready to forgive them. All right? Listen, healing and forgiveness are not the same thing. Healing and forgiveness are not the same thing. Now, is the forgiveness a part of the healing process? Absolutely. All right. But healing and forgiveness, they're not the same thing. But we do need to forgive, right? So when we go on our healing journey, it opens up space for us to see why. Why do I need to forgive this person, right? So this narrative about if I heal, then I have to forgive them, right? And I'm not ready to do that, we really have to let go of that story because listen, forgiving whoever has caused you wrong doesn't mean this is another story. Doesn't mean that what they did was right. It doesn't mean that you okay with it. What it means is that you're ready to let it go. You're ready to let it go so you can run your way. You can run your race. They have passed the baton to you. Okay. Now you can run your race. But you sitting there like I ain't gonna take the baton because I don't like the way you ran that race. I don't like how you talked to me. You did me dirty. You did me wrong. Right? It's time to let it go. Let's put all of that to the side. Right? I once worked with someone who really believed they couldn't heal because their pain was so deep. You guys, every time, every time they tried, they told themselves, "This is just who I am." Right? I'm just stubborn. I just don't forgive people. You got to know me. But one day, you guys, they actually decided to change their story. And instead of saying, "This is just who I am, I'm broken," they started just saying, "I'm healing." We would say something, we would have a conversation, and they would just be like, "Yep, and I'm healing." Right? And that small shift changed how they started to show up, right? Changed how they started to show up. And so we started to set expectations. They started to find peace in their broken pieces, right? And this was interesting because they really never thought that this was possible for them. That's the real power of rewriting your story and changing your beliefs. All right. All right. If that makes sense, put a heart in the chat for me. All right. All right. Stories about healing often develop though from as a form of protection. I need you guys to know this too. Stories about healing often develop as a form of protection. When we experience pain, you guys, our minds create a narrative. Our minds create a narrative that makes sense, that makes sense of it for us. All right. To avoid getting hurt again. All right. So our minds would create a narrative that makes sense to us to avoid us getting hurt again or to survive the difficult experience, you guys. So over time, the stories become deeply ingrained beliefs. And that's how we shape ourselves, you guys. So if I got hurt, the pain felt so bad that my mind created a story to make sense of it. And at that point, it may have been that person's bad. That person's this, that person is that. And now I'm gonna avoid getting hurt again because what I coined that person as, guess what? I'm gonna avoid that. I'm gonna avoid that, right? And then I want to do that so I can like avoid this pain. But what that does is it keep us in survival, and actually we start to focus on it so much that we start to meet more people like that. Okay. So if someone grew up in an environment, you guys, where vulnerability is seen as a weakness, right? They tell themselves, I have to be strong and I can't show pain. If you grew up in an environment where you couldn't cry, and every time you cried that you got judged for that, your mind created a story that said, I have to be strong and I can't show my feelings. When you grow up, right, now it's very difficult. You have disconnect yourself from that emotional space, and now you're emotionally suppressing a lot of the things that are happening to you today, right? So this leads to emotional suppression and resistance to healing, because now I got to go back and feel this stuff. And I've been detached from my emotions since I was 8, 9 years old. You know what I mean? 12, 13 years old. And now I'm 30. That's 20 years of repressed emotion that I have not dealt with. Okay. If someone had been abandoned or betrayed, right, they may tell themselves, I'm unlovable, right? I don't even want to love nobody no more. It just takes too much work, right? This can shape their relationship, not just with their self, but with their self-worth, with their value, right? Because now this divine gift of love, I have disassociated myself from that, because when I tried to love before, I got hurt. Either my mama hurt me, my daddy hurt me, my grandma hurt me, the neighbor across the street that did this terrible thing to me hurt me, right? So I'm not going to love again. All right. And so now as an adult, that's affecting, right, your relationship with yourself, your self-worth and your value, which now affects your relationship with your kids, your relationship with your peers. Okay. Right. So this is why we have to heal. If healing was never modeled for you, if healing was never modeled for you, um, you may believe that this is just who I am, right? People like me don't change, right? You know, my grandma, my great great grandma, Flora, I love her. You know, she was older. She was older. And, but she was the woman to be like, we gonna take that to the grave, right? We gonna take that to the grave, right? Um, all right. Miss Jackie. Miss Jackie said Melissa is my friend. Hi, Melissa. Thank you for joining. Miss Jackie, thank you for inviting her. So when I am, good morning, brother. So my grandma, she used to be like, take stuff to the grave, right? We ain't gonna talk about it. We ain't gonna talk about whatever's going on in this house. You know, we don't talk about that. We take that stuff to the grave. What did that teach us? To be secretive, right? So now when we get adults, now it's, I'm having conversations with my grandmother that we've never had before, because she was raised to not talk about things, and that stuff carry weight on her. Now, you know, I was the curious one, so I always got the whoopings because I'm asking questions. How did that happen? And why did that happen? But a lot of us are still living off the narrative from our great grandma, our great great grandma, our granddaddy, you know, our mothers, right? We don't talk about that. We don't cry. You know, Pep gave an analogy, was that last week, where he said, you know, when you used to get a whooping, your parents used to say, be quiet, you know, while they're whooping you. What does that teach you? To not feel your pain. So now you get older and you don't feel your pain, right? Like you don't let stuff, you feel it, but you don't express it. It's kind of like you're crying on the inside, right? So these are stories that we've caught, you guys, right? And let me tell you this, our identities is deeply tied with our ability to heal, right? If we believe pain defines us, you guys, we will struggle to let it go. However, when we recognize that our identity, you guys, is not our wounds, it's not our past, it's not our circumstances, it's not our conditions, it will open up our ability to grow, right? And we can step into true healing. Healing really requires that we separate who we are from from what we have been through. Let me say that one more time. Healing really requires that we start to separate who we are as divine beings, right? Right? As beautifully, wonderfully made individuals, right? From what we have been through, you guys. Your past experience has may have shaped you, may have shaped how you think, may have shaped who you become today, right? But they don't define you. And because it doesn't define you, then you have the power today to write your story, because you are not your trauma, right? You are your transformation, you guys. You are your transformation, you guys. Listen, the stories we tell ourselves shape our experience in healing. If we believe healing is impossible, you guys, we won't seek it. If we believe healing is a journey, not a destination. We'll give ourselves permission to grow. Think about a time when you held on to a belief that kept you stuck. Maybe you told yourself, I can handle this on my own. I don't need anybody's help, right? Right? When deep down, you really needed the support. You really wanted the hug. You really wanted somebody to ask you, how you doing? What happened when you finally let yourself believe something different, you guys? Listen, the truth is, healing starts with the stories we tell ourselves. If your story is, I'm too broken to heal, you know, I don't have the tools to heal, I ain't good with learning, I am who I am, your mind and your body will respond to that. But if your story is, I'm capable of healing one step at a time, I'm telling you, everything in your life will start to shift. Your healing isn't waiting on perfect conditions. Your healing isn't waiting on perfect conditions. It's waiting on your permission, you guys. The moment you decide to change your story, your healing will begin. Listen, a woman in one of my coaching programs once shared with me that she believed she would never heal from her childhood wounds. She has spent years avoiding it, thinking if she ignored the pain, it would eventually disappear. But the moment she chose to really rewrite her story, you guys, from I am always broken to I am capable of healing, listen, and started to become that woman, everything changed for her. She started to journal. She sought out therapy, right? In addition to the coaching I was giving her, all right, and surrounded herself with people who really encouraged her growth, you guys. And today, she says that while her life today, she says that while her past is still a part of her story, it does not define who she is today, and it will not define her future. Listen, her healing began when she changed her narrative about herself. Miss Candace said, you are not your trauma, you are your transformation. Yes, ma'am. Listen, studies have shown that reframing our beliefs about healing directly affects our brain ability to process trauma and stress. Research in cognitive behavior therapy confirms that when people shift their thoughts, you guys, they experience real emotional and physical relief. All right. What's one story? What's one story you've been telling yourself about healing? And are you willing to rewrite that today? Are you willing to rewrite that today? Okay. All right. So we're going to go into our biblical wisdom. I know that was my introduction, right? 50 minutes of introduction. I just really wanted to, this is a great week for me. I hope that it's a very, very, very good week for you. Because we healing, right? We in the age of shape your life, right? Last week we talked about self-awareness. This week we're talking about healing. If you're not following me on social media, make sure you follow me at I Am Shaping Solutions on all social media handles, because there's the social media content, okay, that comes with this. All right. So our Bible wisdom. All right. Remember principles. All right. Principles are really these timeless truths, right? About how life and faith works, right? They describe how things function and often requires our participation, right? So this principle is going to require us to do something. So 2 Corinthians 5:17 says, therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creature. The old has passed away. Behold, a new has come. All right. Therefore, anyone who is in Christ is a new creature. The old has passed away, and behold, the new has come. All right. This principle shows us that our identity is no longer tied to our past wounds, you guys, but we must walk in this new identity. All right. All right. This verse is a principle that teaches us transformation happens, right, through Christ, right, through this spiritual relationship, right? When we embrace our renewed identity, right, we no longer define our past mistakes. We are no longer defined by our past mistakes, our past pains and struggles. Healing means more than just recovery, you guys. It truly means becoming new, free from the weight of my old wounds and destructive narratives. Now, what came up in my spirit when I said that is that maybe one of you guys was like, that's just not, you don't know my pain. You don't know what I've been through. And I'm telling you that if we went back through your pain, right, and we worked through that, you will experience that same situation a whole lot differently. And when I say that, you would experience it with a whole lot of relief. I have some of my clients that I've worked with. If I've worked with you and you felt that, put a 4 in the chat for me, right? If you worked with me and you felt like I'm so stuck in this area, right? And I don't know how I'm going to get through. And through our work together, you were able to get some relief. Put a 4 in the chat for me. Put a 4 in the chat for me, because it is possible, and it ain't just possible for some people, it's possible for all people. Okay, so the application that this verse has in our healing is that you are not bound to your past traumas or failures. You guys, healing is not about returning to who. Thank you, Miss Jackie. Healing is not about returning to who you were, but stepping into who you are becoming, you guys. Your story is not over. Listen, God created us to be creative. So we have the ability to create the life we want. And God is making something new in you right now. There's a seed that when you shift from your pain, that seed of joy, happiness, peace, contentment, right, will start to blossom, and it will start to grow because it is in you too. And sometimes what we don't realize is that that trauma or that event or that narrative is actually not allowing the seed of peace, harmony, love to grow. It's like that story is like sand, and we need to start to put soil in you, right? We need to start putting nutrients in you so the seed that God has already placed in you can start to grow, so you can start to experience the transformation. If that makes sense, put a 5 in the chat for me. Put a 5 in the chat for me. Okay. Now we're going to go to our promise verse. And remember, the promise verse is the assurance from God, right? About what he will do, right? It doesn't depend on our action all the time. It's a declaration. It's a declaration of God's faithfulness and his power. All right. So Isaiah 41 and 10 says, so do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. Listen, we don't got to do nothing for that. We got to believe, right? Do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my right hand. This is where we start talking about faith. This is why faith is so important on our healing journey, because there's going to be a space. You know, I say my healing journey felt like all the time I'm walking off a cliff, right? It's like I'm about to take this step. I don't know what's going to be here. And all of a sudden, it's as if the ground come and catch my feet. And then I take another step and the ground comes. That was my faith walk, because I didn't know a lot of what was going to happen. I was walking in faith. Okay. And it's so important that on our healing journey that we have that faith to move even in our uncertainty, to move even in our fears, to move even in our doubts, and really hold this verse that says, do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am God. I will strengthen you and help you, and I will uphold you with my righteous hand. This verse really promises that God, this verse is a promise from God, because it's a personal declaration, right? Well, of what he would do: strengthen, help, and uphold his people. Unlike a principle which depends on an action, this verse is the assurance that God's presence and support is consistent, you guys, no matter the circumstances. Now, this will come up in my spirit. Well, I ain't been to church, you know. Well, I ain't saved. Well, I ain't, maybe I don't got a relationship with God, so I can't really extend faith and may believe that his righteous, that he's there to catch me. Okay. And I would say this is where our faith comes in. Just know that we are divine beings, right? And divine beings means that we can transcend our limitations. All right. And so that is now for you to make an agreement with yourself that you're going to have a personal relationship with your creator. And I'm going to say, whoever your creator is, whatever you believe, you got to know that there's something bigger than you. Okay. Okay. So with this verse, this is a promise from God that provides assurance of strength, comfort, um, provides assurance, strength, and comfort. It reminds us that healing is not something that we do alone, you guys. And remember, I say God works through people, right? So God is with us every step of the way, and that means spiritually in our breath, right? In the prana, right? In our breath, but also through people. When we start our healing journey, different people come, the same people, different aspects of them show up. Okay. So do not fear, for I'm with you. Fear and doubt often arise during our healing process, but God reassures us that He will never leave us alone. Right. You will start to be the right people will start to get sent around you, the right circumstances, the right conditions. Do not be dismayed, for I am God, for I am your God. Feeling lost and dishonored, feeling lost and discouraged is normal, but God reminds us that He is in control, right? And then He said, I will strengthen you and help you. Healing takes effort, you guys, but God promises that He will give us the strength that we need, right? It's already in us. That's the part that I really, if you don't hear nothing else, I really want you to think about. An unhealed place is like sand, like nothing is growing here. My healing process is me germinating that sand, putting soil within myself. So these seeds that God placed in me, the gifts, the love, the joy, the peace, all of that that I'm looking for can come up and grow, right? And grow in this fertile ground inside of me. And sometimes our trauma, and it ain't even always trauma, right? But sometimes our disbelief or our limited belief is not the seeds that's in us can't cultivate, can't grow in that. And we need to become the fertile soil for the thing that God already placed in you. And that's why I feel like He can say this with certainty. Listen, I know that I put that thing in you. And I know if you have faith and believe that you are beautifully and wonderfully made, that everything is working for your good, that I will not put nothing more on you than what you can stand, right? I know that if you believe those things, then that will be the soil, right? That will start to attract the life that you want and you so desire and you definitely deserve. Okay. And you definitely deserve. All right. Um, so, and then I have Corinthians 5 and 17. So 2 Corinthians, I will do that one. 2 Corinthians 5 and 17. Therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he is a new creature. The old has passed away, and behold, a new creature. How this ties with today's conversation. This verse directly connects to the power of rewriting our story. Healing is not about fixing what's broken, you guys. It's about becoming something new. Too often people cling to old narratives. I am my trauma. I am my past. I will never change, because they don't believe transformation is possible, you guys. But just like healing requires a mindset shift, this verse reminds us that when we embrace the newness of Christ, the newness of the seeds, the newness, and take on this mind that, oh, God created me in a certain image, and I take on that mind, we are not bound by our past wounds, you guys. The practical application of this is, if you believe that you are a new creature, right? How would you think? How would you act? How would you show up differently, right? What old story needs to pass away for this new story of who you are to take root? Okay. And then Isaiah 14 and 10. So do not fear, for I'm with you. Many people are really facing fear. Many people fear facing their healing journey because they really do think that they have to do it alone. You know, this verse reminds us that healing is not a solo journey, and I would not recommend anybody go on a solo journey healing. God is actively strengthening you, right? Through your environment, through the people around you, even speaking to you, okay? And holding you up, right? Right along the way. All right. But we also have to take away some of those limited beliefs, like I can't trust nobody, because if I'm going on this healing journey, then guess what? I have to forgive. I have to trust. I have to become vulnerable. Those are essential to these roots, these seeds in me taking root. And so if I go on a healing journey, but I'm keeping my own mindset of no new friends, no trusting nobody, not being vulnerable, then then now we're not activating the divinity within us, you guys. All right. The divinity within us. 2 Corinthians 5 and 17 challenges us really to rewrite our story. Healing is possible because we are new creatures, right? We are new creations. We are new creators, and we are not defined by our past, you guys. I really want you to know that we are not defined by our past, but I do feel like a big reason why we cannot let that story go is because we are still defining people by their past. We're still defining our mothers by how she treated us in the past. We're still defining our life, people when we knew them when they was in junior high school, or I knew them when they made this mistake. We still have a lens on defining people by their past. And guess what? The same lens that we look at other people through is the same lens, you guys, that we see ourselves through. And so if it's hard to conceptualize that I'm not my past, it's probably because you haven't let go of the past that other people around you, because if you're still judging people on their past and the things that they did to you in the past because you haven't forgiven that and let it go, right? Then it's going to be very hard for you to say, well, my past doesn't define me. All right. Your past definitely has brought you to the person you are, but it doesn't define the person you will become. All right. All right. And then Isaiah 41:10 just reminds us that we don't heal alone, you guys. We have divine strength, right, to carry us through this process. And divine strength is, remember, divinity is that our ability to transcend our limitations, you guys. And when we start to shift, it's as if we're magnets, right? We're these energy fields. When we start to make the shift, in some way, doors start to open that should open, other doors start to close that should close. And that could be scary, which is why we need a community, right? Like Project Life, right? Like we need to be walking with people that's going in our same direction and that wants what we want. Okay. All right. If that makes sense, put a 6 in the chat for me. All right. So let's go to our interactive tool. Listen, today, we got 3 small steps for you. I got 3 small steps for you. All right. So what I want you to do, instead of just reflecting, I want you to take immediate action. Okay. So I want you to pause and notice, right? When a negative belief about healing comes up for you today, as you reflect on this conversation, okay, as you reflect on this conversation, I want you to, when a negative belief comes up about your healing today, I want you to, I'll never get past that, or I'm just too broken, or she just doesn't know, or she doesn't understand. See, all of that is your ego trying to hold on to the space you in. And remember, your brain is so beautiful and wonderful and amazing that it absolutely wants you safe. So anything that's outside of what you believe is a threat to you. Okay. And it's not a real threat. It's just a threat to your current status. It's a, it's a threat to your current emotional state. All right. So I want you to stop and acknowledge that limitation, right? And acknowledge it without judgment. Okay. And then I want you to reframe that thought. So we're going to pause and notice the thought. And then we're going to reframe that thought, right? Replace that one with a new empowering statement like I'm healing. I'm open to healing, right? One step at a time. I'm just going to allow myself to live beyond my past circumstances. All right. So we're going to pause and notice. We're going to reframe our thoughts. And then we're going to take one healing action, right? So we're going to do one small thing that supports this new belief, whether it's journaling, whether it's just taking a breath. I'm on my healing journey. We're going to breathe it in. Okay. Speak to ourselves with kindness, right? I hear you. I don't got to judge you. I don't got to judge that thought in my head, right? So we can speak to ourselves with kindness, right? And then if you need support, you can always DM me. All right. You can always DM me. All right. So now here's our affirmation for today. All right. Remember, affirmation is really just language. The way I'm using affirmations for life lessons is so that you can get the language. I need you to know that affirmations just don't work by themselves, you guys. You have to believe it to achieve it. All right. So when you read the affirmation, if you feel the disconnect or the disbelief, it doesn't mean that this affirmation isn't true. It just means that you don't believe it. All right. And that is your emotions really signaling you that if you want that, then we need to do something, right? So this affirmation is, I am not my wounds. I am healing. I am not my wounds. I am healing. I release my old stories and step into a new chapter. Healing is possible for me, and I choose to walk in it. I want you to say that to yourself, all right? And see what that feels like. If you feel uncomfortable, if it makes you emotional, if it, if you feel like, I don't really believe that fully, then you should join Project Life. You should join that growth membership so we can start to do things to say, well, who do you need to become so that this can be true for your life? All right. All right. This is all about language, you guys, and we're changing our language. We're changing our language. Miss Jackie say, pause, notice the thought, and then change the thought. Then one healing action such as journaling or speaking, breathing, or breathing and speaking to ourselves. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So our daily intention today I choose to release my old story that has kept me stuck. So remember, our daily intention is really just setting the tone for the day. I come on every morning between 8:30 and 8:45. And and so it's really about setting our intention for the day. Before 8:30, that's my personal time for me to pray, connect with God, do sleep in, hit the snooze button, whatever it is that I want to do. This is our community time. And now we go out into the world, you guys, and this is what I intend. This is how I intend to show up in this specific area of my life. All right. So today I choose to release the old stories that keep me stuck, right? I no longer identify with my wounds. I identify with my healing. I am stepping into my new chapter, one where I am growing, learning, and becoming whole. And I think then you have every thought I choose today will align with the healed version of me. Will align with the healed version of me, you guys. And then our bonus today, catch it, challenge it, change it. Listen, for the next 24 hours, notice when an old belief about healing shows up, right? And you're going to catch it, which is notice when that old belief, when an old belief about healing shows up. I'll never change. I'm too broken. I've been like this all my life. People just got to deal with who I am. Whatever that is, catch it, challenge it. Ask yourself, is this true? Or is it just familiar? Right? Is this true or is this just familiar? All right. And then change it. Replace it with a new truth. And we could just say, I'm healing. Give myself grace. Step by step. Row by row. Okay. Right? I'm healing. All right. And if we just started to say that, I'm healing. I'm on a healing journey. Right? Then we can start to see some shit. And here's the thing. Not just saying I'm on a healing journey, but believe that you're on a healing journey. All right. Believing that you're on a healing journey. All right. Remember, I'm trying to get those 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So if you go to my YouTube channel, I am Shaping Solutions at YouTube. Subscribe to that YouTube channel, you guys. Hey, in our Elevated Life group, make sure you invite a friend. If you enjoyed this conversation, if it was eye-opening for you, if you felt it, invite a friend. All right. And if this session spoke to you, imagine what's possible when you take a deeper dive. You guys, our growth membership really gives you the tools, the coaching, and accountability to help you rewrite your story. And you already know what we're going to do right now. If you're walking away with some insights today, listen, drop a fire in the chat. Let's celebrate our growth, you guys. And remember, if you can shape it in your mind, you can have it in your life. I'll see you tomorrow where we're talking about, listen, triggers and healing. Why it gets harder before it gets better. Okay, triggers and healing. Why does it get harder before it gets better, you guys? Remember, you have the power to rewrite your story, to step into your healness, and to believe something new about you. Thank you for showing up for yourself today. Your healing starts today. All right. I'll see you at the next life lesson. I love you guys. Till later.